Oh boy, we have some coach on coach drama. Love to see it. So, Brent Venables has opened his mouth at a recent press conference at Oklahoma, reflecting on the poor state of Oklahoma when he took over. Now, there is some backstory I think we need to get to here before we talk too much about this whole situation. So, if you don't know, Brent Venables obviously was a defensive coordinator at Clemson. Before that, he was defensive coordinator under Bob Stoops from 1999 until 2011 at, that's right, Oklahoma. So Brent Venables, that was obviously one of the things that brought him to Oklahoma, and he did not take over for Bob Stoops. If you remember, it was Lincoln Riley that he took over for after Lincoln Riley decided to leave Oklahoma, go to USC. Word on the street is the Oklahoma fans still hate Lincoln Riley, and it's college football. I don't expect you not to, so go for it. But basically, Brent Venables took shots at Lincoln Riley, talking about the type of program that he had inherited from Lincoln Riley. So he goes on to talk about it. He says, "Yeah, so we had a lot of work. Sorry, quote." Yeah, so we had a lot to work through, and I chose not to, ask anyone to leave when I first got here, Venables said. Just let me give everybody a fair shot and just kind of see where we're at. And through time, some players choose to leave. Some players just weren't fitting the bill when it comes to going to class and living right off the field. Now, obviously, this is going to be a huge major piece of emphasis for Brent Venables coming from Clemson, having the whole Clemson idea. Bob Stoops had things pretty good before, when he left as well. And so Clemson, obviously, they have one of those like pretty unique cultures in college football. You think through what Brent Venables went through there, kind of the expectations that Dabo Swinney has. He's going to have high expectations for his players, and he's going to pride himself on the fact of not having to tell kids to leave or anything, similar to how Dabo Swinney doesn't want to bring in transfers. He's since started doing that, but the principle at the beginning was that. All right, here comes the shot. He said, quote, as a football program, we had a lot of issues the first year, and we had guys that weren't going to class. We had a 2.2 team GPA, and a lot of guys that didn't pass drug tests a lot. And so, what comes with that? A lack of motivation, lack of synergy, lack of ambition. And so, we had, and there were some, broken spirits too, and guys that maybe weren't confident on what we could become. So, changing the mindset and how we thought was the way to go. That's the end of the quote there. So, I mean, listen, this is pretty normal stuff for a coach to take over from. I'm not saying that Lincoln Riley ran the best program in the world at Oklahoma. I'm not saying that it was more buttoned up and that Brent Venables is just talking down on it. But you also have a guy coming in from Clemson who was used to one of the best cultures, one of the best control of the players, doing the right things that you have at Clemson, coming into an Oklahoma where Lincoln Riley was a first-year coach. Did they probably have some low GPAs? Yeah. Did they probably have some players that maybe weren't super motivated or weren't super happy with the whole situation? Yeah, their head coach just left. These are also just common struggles that a normal first-time head coach goes through, and it kind of fits the bill for Lincoln Riley as a, really offensive-focused guy. It's not like he came in as a head coach from someplace else or had a ton of head coaching experience and he was going to create the best culture in the world. If we know anything about guys like Lincoln Riley who take over for a program, it's that they're going to excel in the X's and O's using the talent that they have. They're not always going to excel at building the culture. And if it really was that bad culture wise there, I'd say Lincoln Riley did a pretty good job winning 10 or more games every single year. He never lost more than 2 games at Oklahoma. So he's taking over for Bob Stoops. He's probably relying a little bit on that culture as he goes through. He leaves, goes to USC. USC is immediately better once they get there. They almost make the college football playoffs. They would have made the college football playoffs, the 4-team college football playoffs, if not for the Caleb Williams injury his first year there. And then they've had 2 disappointing seasons. It's unfortunate, but Lincoln Riley, quite frankly, just needs to find a way to win some of these close games at the end of it. You got beat by Maryland last year in a close game. You got beat by Minnesota last year in a close game. You lost games that were close that you really should have won or could have had a really good chance of winning if you would have probably just, played better at the end of the game. Also, the other thing we need to look at here is Brent Venables is vying for his job right now. I mean, he is going to do and say whatever, and this doesn't make him dishonest. This doesn't make him, a liar or anything like that. But just being honest, like this is the type of stuff you see from coaches when they start sitting on the hot seat, when they start feeling unsure about their coaching status in the future. I mean, we see guys fire offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. We're going to see Brent Venables do more of this. We're going to see him try to bash the way the program was. Like, the program is so much better now than what it ever was before. What do a lot of people at Wisconsin talk about when it comes to Luke Fickell, about the culture and everything's there? It doesn't mean it's untrue or anything. I mean, obviously the culture can be better. But at the end of the day, what do people hire coaches for? They hire you to win. They don't hire for you to come in and have the best culture in the world. Sure, you want to be proud of your culture. You want to be proud of the graduation rate, the GPA, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, nobody's making you a trophy for having team GPAs. Nobody is making you a trophy for, better synergy, better motivation, better ambition. At the end of the day, you get that stuff from winning. And point blank, Lincoln Riley was winning at Oklahoma more than he's winning now at USC. Now, that can give you some hope as a USC fan to remember, okay, he's gotten better. He's going to continue to get better. He's going to develop his culture better. Maybe he just needed a reset after that. But at the end of the day, this is one of the craziest things ever, that you would try to talk about better synergy, better motivation, better ambition, but we're a much worse football team than we should be because of essentially the way things have been coached and the way things have been done. Now, granted, Oklahoma had a lot of injuries last year. All right, had some unluckiness with that. So I'm not trying to say that it was the worst coach team in the world or anything. They did have some unfortunate stuff with injuries, but Luke Fickell's also had some unfortunate stuff with injuries his first 2 years at Wisconsin. At a certain point, people don't care. You still got to win. You still got to go out there, put the W's in your record, and if you don't do that, they aren't going to like it. So Lincoln Riley, I'm not worried about him. Even if this is the way the team was, he was still winning. Obviously, you'd want the culture to be better. You would want better motivation, team GPA, stuff like that. We haven't heard rumblings of terrible stuff like that happening at USC. Of course, you had the Bear Alexander situation last year, and you're always going to have some stuff here and there. But honestly, in this day and age of college football, players are making money. Players are trying to earn as much more money as they possibly can. That's one of the best motivators there is out there. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as Lincoln Riley is winning, that's the most important thing. Unfortunately for Lincoln Riley, he's not been winning the past 2 seasons. He did 3 years ago, but he's not been winning the past 2 seasons. Lincoln Riley has to get it right this year. That way, 3 years from now, nobody's talking about, oh, when I took over for USC, this happened, that happened. Let's just keep Lincoln Riley at USC and Lincoln Riley start winning some more games, and we don't have to worry about this again. Lincoln, go out there, win 10 plus games every single season like you were at Oklahoma. Even if the team GPA is low. Okay, get the team GPA up, but still, just start winning. All this stuff will go away. Thanks for watching.